hard time with the internet. We're live.
Hey everyone, this is Cameron Robertson, CEO of 3PL Systems. I also have Michael Sternberg, my co-host, Director of Sales of 3PL Systems. And we have a special guest today, Anthony James of Harris Computers. Anthony, do you mind introducing yourself?
Hello, yes, my name's Anthony James. I work with Harris. We are the largest operating entity of Constellation Software, which is literally, don't know us, because we're Canadian based in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, but nonetheless, we own more VMS businesses than just about anyone, and we're happy to be here with you today. Thank you for inviting me.
That's incredible. I mean, I've learned a lot about you guys over the years, and you guys have invested heavily into multiple verticals in technology. Michael, to you.
Yeah, so 8th largest in the world, you said. So how many companies does that make up?
Well, give you a little bit of background. Current CEO Mark Leonard began the business. He wanted to emulate Warren Buffett. And so our investment thesis literally emulates what Warren Buffett has done with Berkshire Hathaway. That's what we do with vertical market software businesses. So between 1996 and 2024, we've acquired more than 1,000 software businesses.
Let me piggyback on something you just said, if you don't mind. So you said you guys follow the Warren Buffett strategy. So you guys, if I'm hearing you correctly, aren't like buying and flipping companies real quick, and are you more like a long-term value investor like Warren Buffett?
We are exactly that. Of all of the businesses that we've acquired over the years, we've only sold one business.
Wow.
And if you had the opportunity to speak with Mark Leonard, he would tell you he wants that one back. He regrets the fact that he sold even the one. We do not sell businesses. We do not resell businesses. Once we make an acquisition, it's an evergreen acquisition. We buy and hold forever. We support our businesses. We make sure that they're properly scaling, that they're profitable, that whatever it is that you need, we provide that. That's what we do.
Very cool.
That's really interesting. So what do you look for in a company when you're looking to invest or purchase a...
First of all, we look for businesses that are specifically focused in something marketplace technology that's called a vertical. What are you specializing in? We're here at Manifest 2024, the supply chain conference, for example. Are you a transportation management system? Are you a warehouse management system? What is it that you're looking to do that if someone says, this is the business, you understand immediately where their focus is? That's point number one. Point number two, we like that management teams, obviously. We like businesses that have demonstrated that the marketplace is receptive to their solution. We don't like laughing, but sometimes people come to the market with good ideas, but that's what they are. They're just good ideas, right? What we like to do is we like to see a proof of concept that the market has received. And then we will come to the table and we will support that, because again, our objective is not to have something be here today and be gone tomorrow. Our objective is to have something be here today and be here tomorrow. So therefore, once you can produce and prove that you have some longevity, we will carry you forward for as long as there will be time, so to speak, relative to the operation of your business.
Very cool. So I was laughing because Cameron and I have similar conversations about ideas versus businesses all the time. Okay. And by nature, Cameron and I are both extreme executors, okay, right? And the metric is, did it get done? And is your business making money?
Yes.
Frankly, right?
Yes.
And so all for ideas, and everything starts from an idea, but until it's a business and until it's making money, we're completely aligned with what you're saying. It's like, good idea.
True. And that's sometimes, again, people do have good ideas, and there are a lot of people who are walking around with a head full of good ideas. Unfortunately, as you all know, good ideas are hard to value, right? And so we look for businesses that we can value, coming back to your question. And if you've demonstrated that the marketplace has a receptive place for you, they want what you have, then we can value. and then we can support you. So we look for that. We also look for businesses that have demonstrated that their teams are going to be intact and have been intact for a while, right? If your business is turning over from a standpoint of full-time employees, there's probably some type of operational issue. We don't like that. Externally, we look for businesses that have a great persistency. The industry nomenclature is sticky businesses. If indeed the business has a customer, what does it take for that customer to get rid of you should they decide they don't like you? Can they make that decision easily and replace you, or will it be difficult for them to replace you once you come in? Businesses that are sticky, businesses that have persistency, we love those because, again, we know that the revenue streams that those businesses have, the customers that those businesses have, are going to be around for a long time. And again, we want that business to be around for a long time.
Going back to when you talked about what you're looking for in an organization, you had mentioned the management team. So what are you looking for in a management team when you're looking at organizations?
We look for individuals, first of all, that have a passion for what they do. One of the differences between what we do, because there may be some people who say, he's just another PE guy. No, I'm not another PE guy, because here's the difference. Private equity is going to resell you at some point. There's going to be an exit event at some point. Venture capital is definitely going to create an exit event at some point. Constellation Software, Harris is not going to do that. So we want the management teams, we want the CEOs, the CFOs, the VPs, all of those senior individuals to have a passion for what they do. To not only have the resource knowledge, but also have the desire to carry it forward. Point number one, because then we have a methodology that we can bring because of all of the acquisitions that we've done across various verticals that allows us to synchronize with that passion, to synchronize with those resource bases that those owners and those CEOs bring to the table. And that makes a very working relationship between the portfolio companies that we have and those that we're acquiring. So we certainly look for that passion, we look for that knowledge, and then it allows us to be able to work together.
So when you guys acquire a company, and I hear you say you like to keep the team intact. So if we're not sharing too much secret sauce, I hope not. When you guys do this, do you guys have, okay, this individual from our team would be the best advisor for this company, and you have somebody that you put in place in charge of each company, or is it a collective effort between everybody that's involved at the PE firm?
Yes and yes, but don't call us a PE firm.
I'm sorry.
Here's what happens is certainly there will be a person who's in charge of integration into the portfolio to make sure that things run smoothly. Certainly there will be individuals who are senior officials who will be able to guide relative to certain optimization strategies. Let me use that particular phrase that may be best. But one of the things that's unique about us is if you have a portfolio that is 1,000 plus, right? And many of our senior officials remained with their businesses when they came in, and now they're not just overseeing their businesses. They're also, as you pointed out, overseeing other businesses as well. You instantly have peers that can help you do what you do better. So one of the things that we offer is that peer group that can help you be better. So twice a year, at least once a year, and I think twice, because we just did it in I want to say Orlando, the latter part of 2023, we have a gathering just for those CEOs and business owners and C-suite level officials of our portfolio businesses to come together and network amongst themselves. Hey, I'm having a problem with my marketing strategy. How can you help me? Hey, I'm having a problem with my persistency. How can you help me? Hey, I'm having a problem with whatever. How can you help me? And people who have gone through that in their business life cycle, who are also, as I like to say, in the family with you, so they can share secrets,
Sure.
right? Because they're all in the house together, can help you navigate some difficulties. And we do that as a matter of course.
Makes a lot of sense. And what you just shared is really powerful because having a soundboard at a C-level as a C-level employee is priceless, in my opinion, and it's something you struggle with day in, day out, because you typically can't go to your employees and have a really in-depth conversation about something you may be struggling with at the top of the company. And so having that soundboard, what you guys offer to these organizations that you're acquiring, is a very powerful thing. And another place where I've seen it replicated is at Vistage, which is a leadership type group. So that's awesome.
So you've obviously been in this space for a while. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about maybe some of the trends you're seeing and how it's changed over the last few years in particular. There's a lot of money in particular being thrown at our industry. And I know that it's different today. Not that there's not money being thrown, but I'm sure like the criteria and the overall feel of the market is different. And how do you view that?
A lot has changed over the last 3 years, principally because of external economic factors, right? If you go back to, as we came out of COVID, first of all, let's go back to pre-COVID, obviously night and day difference.
Sure.
Pre-COVID, post-COVID. But coming out of COVID, interest rates were still low. Money was easily affordable. So there were a lot of private equity businesses, a lot of venture capital businesses that were showering software businesses with money, which led to very elevated valuations. People were basically buying things at prices that they should not have been paying for. Okay. As interest rates began to increase, we saw that change dramatically. And when we peaked, probably, I want to say mid-2023, summer of 2023, when we were at the peak of the highest interest rate environment, you saw that the acquisition volume, private equity, venture capital investing and making acquisitions, partial and total, really slowed down because the companies still wanted those elevated valuations, right? They still wanted what had been offered a year, 18 months, 24 months prior. But the people who were writing the checks were saying, not so fast. Not so fast. We're not going to do that because we have to have a pathway for return on investment, and we don't see it now. Because the cost of our money is this as opposed to doing this. So what that led to is a couple of things. It led to, first of all, deal flow dramatically slowing down. You did not see as many acquisitions. You did not see as much investment. And so a lot of companies did not get funded or did not get acquired. But the other thing that you saw, and this is really telling because the effects of that are still being felt right now in this regard, is multiples paid for acquisitions have come down. What we're seeing now in the marketplace is a little bit of a wrestling match because there are still business owners who want to sell their businesses, who want those higher multiples. We just did an exercise internally at Harris where we took publicly available data and we compared it over the last 3 years in various sectors to see where those multiples were in 2021 and where they ended up at the end of 2023. And across every sector, multiples came down, whether it was a revenue multiple, whether it was an earnings before taxes and depreciation multiple, EBITDA multiple, whatever it was, those multiples came down. That's a change that's being felt now because a lot of people don't want to accept it and they say, no, you're just not wanting to pay enough. Truth be told, no one's paying what they were paying 2 years ago, right? And so the third thing that has happened as well is that businesses that went out latter part of 2022, first part of 2023, they did not transact. And then they came back to the table and they said, hey, you know what? We either need to take this process offering off the table or we need to change our valuation expectations. And so we saw a lot of that as well. Companies, for example, that we at Constellation, we at Harris wanted to acquire, but we're not able to be competitive in. They came back to us and they said, hey, you know what? We're still here. Are you all still interested? And we said, absolutely, yes.
Are you seeing the company owners, the people that do want to sell and get acquired, are you seeing them adjusting well, or are you seeing them struggling with
No,
the
they're not
adjustment?
adjusting. They're not.
It's a lot less money, so probably not.
No, in many cases they are not adjusting well at all. Some of them are. I've had a couple of interesting conversations with some businesses that I'd like to write a check for. One gentleman in particular, we had a conversation about a month ago. Well, right after the first of the year, and he told me, "No, I think you're just totally wrong," when we were discussing valuation expectations. And so I sent him data. And then I sent him more data. And then I sent him yet more data to prove that I was correct. And he
That
needed
you know
to,
what you're doing.
yeah,
You
and
didn't pull a
and
number out of the sky.
exactly right. And he needed to adjust. I'm waiting to hear from him. And if I don't hear from him with an inbound communication, I'm going to go to him proactively and make sure that he's gotten that information that I've sent him, because it's important to have a realistic expectation, right? There are deals being done now, and people want to invest in businesses. People certainly want to acquire businesses, but that wrestling match that is going on, it's not quite as fervent as it was, but it's still.
I feel like there in recent years, in the last few years, there's been a lot of PE money, a lot of just investment money coming into not only supply chain but all software verticals, and a lot of those companies getting burned by the idea. So an idea oversold to these PE firms and whatnot. Are you still seeing a lot of that, or has that died down quite a bit? Are people taking more time to understand a business before they actually acquire it, or make sure, vet it out, hey, they actually have something?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. That has slowed down, but again, primarily because money costs more.
Yeah.
Right. It's not as cheap. And one of the things that I'm fond of saying when I'm speaking to individuals is that our business model, our buy and hold forever model, that Warren Buffett model that I spoke about earlier, basically comes down to the fact that the cost of our money is different than venture capital money or private equity money. And people generally don't think about what money costs, right? But that's what the conversation is. And when I tell them that, they're like, "Oh, what do you mean by that?" I say, "Well, here's what happens. Our money costs X because we get it from here. Their money costs Y because they get it from there. And that's the difference. And they have to pay it back this way, and we pay it back that way." So to answer your question more directly, yes, that has slowed down. So I believe there's still an oversupply of dollars chasing deals. So there are some deals that are being funded that should not be. However, not like it was 24 months ago, not like it was 36 months ago, to be sure. And for some business owners, they don't like that either, because they want to ride off into the sunset, and now they can't. But I think ultimately it's a good thing for the marketplace, because it helps bring things back to a more normal operating status. Prior to doing what I do now for Harrison Constellation, I managed money for 27 years, right? So I've seen a lot of business cycles when it's come to interest rates, mergers and acquisitions, investments, and those types of things. So I tend to look at the marketplace from a number of different sides. I'd like to see more of a reversion to the mean, as we like to say, things being more normal than what we've seen previously, where interest rates were just so low, nobody really cared. Money was almost disposable. I don't think that's in the best interest of the marketplace when it comes to mergers and acquisitions activity. What's happening now, I think, is a better climate. Please continue.
There's a lot to unpack there. I'm learning a lot as you're talking. It's an interesting conversation. So, out of curiosity, you mentioned the cycles in the market and kind of the regression to the mean, which over a given course of time, anything regresses to the mean, right? And the normalization is good. But historically speaking, are there certain times we'll go through? Is it a 3-year cycle? Is it there is no real trend line that you can follow? And is it kind of a crapshoot? Or are you seeing like every 5 years this happens and every another 5 years this happens, or anything like that?
Excellent question. So when I came into the investment business way back when. As a younger person, we always thought that the older people in the business didn't know anything at all because we had the fresh ideas, we had the energy, and whatever they were talking about was just no longer relevant. Now that I'm an older person, I can answer your question differently. All right. And here's the answer. The answer is technology changes everything. As we advance and certain businesses become more efficient in producing goods and services, and there is a cyclical flow of dollars that flows to the more efficient businesses, it changes what happens to that cycle that you just mentioned, right? So if in one particular era, it may have been 6, 7, 8, or 10 years, that will be impacted as we advance our standard of living. So let's come back to where we are right now. We're at Manifest 2024, the supply chain conference. All of the businesses around us are bringing some type of technological advancement to the supply chain. Guess what that's doing? Each one of the individuals who are in this building will have their quality of life impacted by the businesses that are here at Manifest 2024 to the positive. And as their quality of life, as our quality of life is impacted to the positive, what that will then do is change what that cycle timeline looks like, right? Because there will be a time where there will need to be another efficiency advancement, which will affect that timeline for that cycle. Whether or not it will be 3 years now, whether or not it will be 5 years, I don't know. The only thing that technology here of lately is proving is that the time is shorter. The cycle is shorter each time it goes through because of the technological advances. So looking at moving goods from point A to point B more efficiently, if you can get your goods faster at a higher quality, ultimately that's going to reduce certain economic levers that are going to impact what you do with your dollars. And at that point, businesses are going to adjust, the dollars are going to follow, and then we'll start it all over again because somebody else will come up with a good idea that will advance it even more.
Sure.
And there we go again. But in this day and age, and I apologize for being so long-winded, but in this day and age, I think we're probably looking at something within 3 to 5 years, as opposed to outside of that 5-year period. I think right now, with technology advancing so rapidly, I mean, there are things in this room going on that in 2020, we weren't thinking about doing. And now, especially with the advent of artificial technology, artificial intelligence is what I'm trying to say. That's changing a lot of what's happening. And as we continue to use AI, it's going to impact us and shorten that even more until something else happens.
So if you don't mind, Cam, just a follow-up question to that. So the technological advancements are compressing the timeline of these cycles,
I believe.
Can you give us an example of something that may expand the timeline of those cycles?
Good question. Good question. Let me think about that for a minute. I think one of the things that may expand that is actually not going to be economic, but it's going to be geopolitical. And that is if we have continued conflict in various areas that are going to hinder us from enhancing our quality of life through supply chain advancements. Right. And those are and what's happening right now is actually interesting, right? Because one of the things that's driving supply chain advancements are geopolitical instabilities across the globe.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have other options. You have to have ways and methods of getting goods from point A to point B so that bottlenecks and pain points and conflicts and all types of things that are happening across the world don't stop what it is we need to have in our lives, right? But as those things continue to happen, and we've got a couple of influences on that. People, whether or not you are a believer in climate change or not, things are happening on a scale that's impacting by way of what nature does. But then we also have conflict, right? That's affecting things as well. And so those things are both going to drive, but they also may elongate, because if that economic instability becomes something that's long lived, that'll be a problem.
Sure.
If we continue to have, I live in South Florida, if we continue to have hurricanes hitting the west coast of the state every year, and then they hit the east coast of the state, and so people have to rebuild year after year after year, that's going to be a problem too, because now resources that would be utilized in other places are now going to be utilized to rebuild those areas. That too will elongate. So it really depends on things that are not so much economic per se, but I would say more, natural based by way of nature, and then more geopolitical by way of war and peace, if that makes sense.
Perfect sense. Awesome answer.
Makes sense. So another question I have, more just out of ignorance and really want to understand it better. When we go into some type of recession, you being in the investment world, how does that impact an investment firm like Harris Computers, Constellation? Do you guys continue to buy organizations during a downturn? Or
for us, it really doesn't impact us at all from an ability to deploy capital, because going back to our business model, we buy and hold forever. All of the businesses that we have are profitable, and all of those businesses allow us to continue to deploy capital. If you're in a situation where you have to go out and raise funds, that's a different story. That's not us, right? So for us, in that regard, it doesn't impact. What it does do, though, it makes us look at those businesses that we would be acquiring to make sure that what they have to have, what they need, either they already have it to be sustainable, or we can provide it so that they can be sustainable. So then we're basically just a little bit more diligent in our diligence, if I can say it that way, just to make sure that when we bring that business in-house, as I like to say, we will be able to have a sustainable business. The volume of what we do has been consistent for the last 3 years. If I can just give a plug to Constellation and what we've done over the years. Quorum, based out of Seattle, Washington, takes the pulse of the vertical market software mergers and acquisitions activity every year, and they put out an annual report. The reason why I can tell you with certainty where we're ranked as a global software brand, the reason why I can tell you with certainty how many businesses we acquired, is because that information doesn't necessarily come from us in-house. You can ask Quorum and they will tell you, no, this is what Constellation Software did. This is what Harris did. This is who they bought. This is what they paid for it. And for the last 3 years running, we've been the number one software acquirer from them, not from us. That's not our marketing. That's from them as a matter of fact, right? So we've seen lower interest rates. We've seen interest rates increase. We've seen this plateau where we are right now, and we've still been able to weather it. So again, the scrutiny on the businesses changes for us. Our ability to deploy capital for us doesn't change. Other businesses that have a different business model, that may very well be the case, but for us, not so much.
makes sense.
Awesome. Do you guys want to keep talking? We're at a half hour. We can keep talking for the next 30 minutes if you want to stay and talk. I know we only told you we needed a half hour from you, so I want to be fair to you if you had other plans.
I'd love to stay. I'm enjoying
Cool.
it. And so if you'd have me, I'm good to stay.
But just be careful, because we'll keep talking and keep talking. So
I'm good.
This is just maybe a selfish question in the sense that it's for my own education. Would you be willing to, or would you have any tips for anybody who was wanting to go after, some investors and in looking at how to approach that kind of conversation, how to have that conversation, how to prepare their business to be able to present the right way. Would that be something you'd be willing to dive into?
Sure, absolutely. And that's an excellent question. I was actually expecting that question a little bit earlier, believe it or not. So no, that's a great question. First thing that you want to do is make sure that if you're a software business, obviously, make sure your software works. And that seems very simplistic, I understand. However, true story, there have been businesses that has come to me that have wanted me to add them to our portfolio. And we have engaged in conversations. And ironically enough, those same businesses, because they have an excellent idea, have been able to do business with us on a partnership level, on a collaborative level, because we do that. Even if we don't own you outright, there may be gaps in our ability to service ourselves, or we will go out in the marketplace and say, hey, listen, we'd love to buy you, but we know you're not for sale. How about we do something collaboratively for mutual benefit? This business, we did that. As it turned out, when the business owner became serious about being acquired by us, it turned out that our corporate IT department did not like this business and put the kibosh on the acquisition because they said, we use the software, but it really doesn't work very well because it has a lot of bugs in it. And the business is not very good at testing and debugging their software before they make updates. They will make an update, and the update will look like it will work well, but then it doesn't, and we have to send it back to them. And so what they've done is they've cost us a lot of time and man hours in having to fix what they've done, because they won't do it because they don't have the capacity to do it, but they told us that they did. And so, no, we don't want this company. We don't like this company because their software doesn't work. And I learned a lot from that experience because one of our executive vice presidents literally called me on the phone and asked me, why are you talking to this business? We don't like this business. And that was actually the quote. And I said, whoa, where did that come from? And then we had a conversation about it, and she explained to me what happened. And so, as simplistic as it sounds, make sure your software works. Make sure that you have fully executed your proof of concept, and as bulletproof as you can make your software solution, make it. Another term that I've taken from a CEO that we have been in conversations with is, we use the term a lot, software platform, right? He says, I don't call it software platforms anymore. What I call it is systems of action software. And I said, I'm stealing that from you. And so I use that. Make sure that your systems of action software actually works. That's point number one. Point number two, then be prepared to stand behind it. Because a lot of people think that if I just have money to market, I'll be okay. I'm going to suggest to you that if your systems of action software works well and your proof of concept is executed such that there is a receptive place in the market for your software, an audience can be found much more easily to create a customer base for you than if those things are not true, right? Point number three then becomes, have a vision for your business. Don't just create something and say, hey, I've got this out and now I'm going to go on to something else. Have a longer term strategic vision of what you want to do with your business. Point number four, surround yourself with people that can give you good counsel. Because none of us know everything, right? And if you do those things, then I think you will be in a good position to have good conversations and to take your business forward, and then to continue to scale your business. People say, well, what does that have to do with money? You haven't talked about investment dollars yet. I know that's intentional. But the reason for that is, and I may get myself into a little bit of trouble here, but the reason for that is, right, on the venture capital side, the venture capitalists know that they're going to invest in some businesses that are going to fail.
Mm.
They know that, which is why they do what they do to your business if your business succeeds. Sorry, VCs.
It's
And-
true.
And so,
Mouse in it and flip it.
yeah, exactly right. And they're going to rape and pillage it along the way.
Right.
And so, if you can position your business to where you truly have a business, then I will say to you that there are a number of sources out there that can fund your business, that will be willing to invest in your business, to support your business so you can get your business where it needs to be. If those infrastructure things are not true, as I just outlined, it's going to be a lot harder.
It's really good advice. Let me just make sure I got those all correct. So you had make sure your systems of action software works, right? Make sure you have a vision for the future of the platforms and the software,
Yes.
not just I have this now and resting on my laurels.
Correct.
You said be prepared to stand behind it and have conviction in the product.
Correct.
And then I believe the last one you said, if I heard you right, it said have good counsel around you. Is that correct?
Yes. Surround yourself with people that can help you
Awesome.
get where you need to be, because none of us know everything.
Awesome. Appreciate you sharing those points. I'm sure there's some people listening that'll benefit from that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate that. So, switching subjects, do you want to talk a little bit about transportation management, the stack that people use?
Sure. If you want, do you want to let Anthony go and we can continue on with the rest of it?
If you'd like to stay for it, you can, or we're
You
going to
wanna-
be talking about the tech stack. Want to go?
Yeah, sure. So, another thing we wanted to dive into, we were talking before about, what we're going to talk about today was, how can maybe our clients in particular, we sell the freight brokerages, right? How can people better deploy themselves as a tech-enabled brokerage, in our case, or a tech-enabled transportation company? Because I feel like this conference, Manifest, has a lot of technologists, but a lot of our customers are focused on the supply chain or on freight or on trucking, and their core competency is not software. And a lot of times what we see in the marketplace is that there's a lot of value that vendors like ourselves and everyone else here can be giving to their customers that customers don't realize. And so what we want to talk about is how can customers better leverage their partners and their vendors and the people who are providing their tooling and their tech stack to then go to market as a tech-enabled brokerage or a tech-enabled transportation company to then secure business, sell more services, and grow their company. So do you want to start with kind of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that stands out for me, especially, working with hundreds of freight brokers ourselves, is not going to your tech providers and actually asking them for their help to help solve the challenges that you're facing within your organization. Within our industry and all these different providers that brokerages deploy within their businesses, all of these tech companies have a lot of different things that they do. And what we specialize in, transportation management systems, there are a lot of different things that your TMS can do that you probably don't know that it actually does.
Sure.
And by reaching out to the actual TMS platform like us or others, you can bring your challenge to them and they can help you solve those problems. So I do think that's one of the biggest challenges a lot of these freight brokers run up against.
Can you tell a few stories about maybe some recent times that you've helped some of our clients, maybe some customer integrations, shipper integrations we've done with them that you've been involved in from the technical side that has allowed people to maybe close some more business?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Worked on quite a few of those. So most recently, there's actually a client didn't realize that we could actually integrate to the point that we could integrate with a SAP system, for example. And after they found out that we could actually manage those phone calls for them because they don't have engineers on staff, that we could get on these calls, we could manage the call for them, speak to their shipper, and actually do the integration on their behalf from the TMS into the shipper platform. Not only does that help you better secure that client for the long run, but it also helps you achieve more business from that business. And one of the big things that came from that specific integration was it actually allowed them to move, I think it was like 3,000 more shipments a month, something like that. And a lot of our clients don't realize the power of integration with shippers, whether that be through EDI, API, or any custom system that they have inside of their organizations. The best approach isn't a manual approach. So if your customers are logging into your systems and manually entering shipments or manually managing things, there's already a break in the way you are managing your client's business. You should make it as easy as possible where the two systems, your customers and yours, speaks hand in hand without them ever having to actually leave their platform to go into your platform. So that's definitely one of the big things we focus on at 3PL.
No, absolutely. And so question for you, Anthony. So, a lot of what Cameron's talking about is, how can we better position ourselves, not just as a vendor, but as a partner to our customers? And it sounds like y'all share a lot of that same ethos in what you do, right?
Yes.
So can you maybe speak to a little bit of maybe some of the advisory work that you've done with your clients, the companies that you guys have to help them maybe position themselves better and provide more value to their customers and some of what you've seen?
Interesting question. Some of that is secret sauce.
But don't share any secret sauce.
But I will share this, though. I will share this. One of the things that I do even prior to an acquisition that we make, once we establish relationships, and this is the message that I give, right? We're not looking to be transactionally focused at Harris or Constellation. We want to build rapport through relationship, full stop. Which means we want to talk, we want to learn, we want to listen. We want there to be a two-way dialogue such that the more that we know about you, the better then we can engage with making each other better. And as we do that over the time, there will be opportunities for us to say, hey, here's someone I can refer you to inside or outside that can help you get through this particular pain point in your business. Here's something you can consider, and we've done that. As a quick example, 2 years ago, there was a business that we wanted to acquire. It was perfect for our portfolio. It wasn't a supply chain business, as I was managing a different portfolio at the time. But the business had a different type of operating structure where part of the business was located in the States, part of the business was located offshore, and the part of the business that was located offshore was responsible for the research and development, and the part of the business that was located in the States was the sales and the revenue generation. Long story made very, very short, we could not clear both of the operational and legal hurdles to get that business into our portfolio. That business was at a point to where if they weren't acquired by someone, they were going to cease to exist. I put them in contact with someone that helped them get through that, who could do some things for them that we could not, right? Those are the types of things that I do. Those are the types of things that we do, whether we have the resources inside or whether we have the resources outside. Without getting into specifics, we are about sustainability with that we own and operate, but we're also about making sure that, as I like to say it again, we play nice in the sandbox, even with those that we don't.
One of our favorite sayings, Cameron and I say it all the time. Play nice in the sandbox. I love that.
And so if we do that, that means if I can help you, I'm going to help you. And even if I don't acquire you, that doesn't mean that somewhere down the line we won't be able to pay that for.
That's awesome. Can you want to talk a little bit about trust maybe and how we develop trust with our clients and how other people may be able to try to go after establishing that with clients in as a way of providing more value, allowing them, as Anthony was saying, to give you more opportunities to share that two-way communication where if one of our clients doesn't tell us what they're up against, that they need to do X, Y, and Z to secure the business, we can't help. So how do you view, at least let's just say from our firsthand experience at 3PL, how do we establish that trust to transcend from a vendor to a partner?
Yeah, it's definitely something we talk about.
It's a big question.
We talk a lot about this.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things for us, I think, comes down to communication being number one. And this is something that, we've even taken a step back ourselves as an organization in a major way the last 3 to 6 months
Mhm.
and really started to refocus on communication with our client base. And one of the things that we do as an organization is we hold what we call 3PL heads together. And 3PL heads together is something a lot of tech companies I don't think would ever do, because it allows your customers to come together in a single group, whether virtually or in person, and tell you about the good, the bad, and the ugly with your organization. But that's what we want to hear. It's okay for us as an organization, for our customers to hear the ugly with one another,
Mhm.
because we're actually going to do something. We're actually going to address the problem. Sometimes we come up against challenges that may be new challenges that we don't know the answer to. And we're not going to be that company that acts like we know the answer to every single problem. It's just not in our DNA to put that front out there. However, we're going to do our absolute best to get the answer, provide a solution, and move forward into the next problem. So one of the best ways for us that we've found to build trust with our clients is, one, listen.
Mm.
Shut up and listen to what the customer is actually saying. Once you understand that, come up with a solution. If you don't know the solution right off the fly, work together with your team internally. That's what teams are for. Identify a solution. Reach out to your network if it's not something that you can solve internally. There's a lot of different ways that you can help your customers, but the biggest thing that will make you fail is if you're not listening to your customers, you're not making any changes internally to address their concerns.
Yeah.
And so 3PL heads together, as you know, has been a massive impact for us at 3PL Systems.
Yeah, that was a really good answer. I want to pull a thread off of something that you just said that I think is important to kind of highlight and double down on, where the partnership is a two-way partnership, right? So it's not just how can we be a better partner to our customers, but how can our customers be a better partner to us? Because there's a lot of times, and you and I have this conversation all the time. Look, we build TMS software, we do a good job at it, but we don't broker freight.
Nope.
So if we have a question about brokering freight, we're going to ask our clients who are freight brokers about brokering freight, right? And so it seems so simple, but a lot of times people don't do it, right?
Yeah. And actually diving into that, even been a while now.
Yeah.
And so we do understand a lot of the complexities of the freight brokerage,
Absolutely.
the supply chain industry, and we understand what goes into running these
100%.
businesses. However, there's a lot of new things that we're learning constantly that come up. There's things that we learned about truckload, even though we manage truckload, that we didn't know about before. There's changes, there's law changes that we learned about. And by communicating that, as if I were to put myself in the customer shoes, being from the technology side, my number one goal, if I hire a vendor, especially if it's running the core part of my business, is I'm going to have a regular call with my tech partners to identify how can I best utilize the software within my organization. How am I going to deploy this with my customers that use it day in, day out? And how am I going to use it to my benefit to market to gain new business? And so it's very, very important that in our case, for example, if you're a freight broker utilizing our system and you're not communicating with us, or you might have a frustration that you don't bring up, we can't read minds. And it's the same way the other way.
Totally.
That's why we want to reach out to our customers. And that's a huge way we build trust.
Yeah. No, one of my favorite things is when I talk to our customers and we talk to other people in the industry that know us, and they say, your customers really view it kind of as a family. I know you mentioned this earlier, is only in a family dynamic are people going to tell you where you're messing up, but they still have your best interest in mind. They're going to tell you where you're messing up, but they're going to help you get better, right? And again, that goes both ways. And I think, when you were talking about that earlier, Anthony, it was like, it makes so much sense. And that approach it's the only way everyone gets better together. And if everyone's not getting better together, sooner or later you go at it alone and you're going to fail, in our opinion, right? And so, no, it's just, we think there's a lot of opportunity for customers to leverage their vendors as partners and to extract more value for themselves for a service that they're already paying for, right? However, it's contingent upon the vendor or the investor to present that family dynamic to be able to cultivate that communication and problem solving together, right? So it sounds like you align with that completely.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes.
Very cool. We got about 10 minutes left, guys. So if there's anything you guys want to finish up with, we got about 10 minutes left. If there's anything you guys want to address, final thoughts, questions, concerns, comments, anything like that, we should address them now.
Let's go to Anthony James. Any final thoughts from your end?
I just first of all want to say thank you guys for allowing me to hang out with you and spend this time talking to you about the Manifest 2024 and the overall software, vertical market software, mergers and acquisitions, climate in general. I've had a great time. I feel honored to be here. Thank you so very much.
Absolutely. Michael?
Just thank you to you. You've been an awesome guest. I know this was kind of last minute, and you were gracious enough to come on, and you provided a lot of value. And I hope our listeners really enjoyed it as much as we did. So, Cam, you want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank Zell Logistics for having us at their booth today. We truly appreciate them. They're a wonderful company, ran with some wonderful leaders. I want to thank Anthony James for joining us today. Thank you so much for sharing
Very welcome.
about Constellation Software and Harris Computers. And I also want to talk about this upcoming show on Friday. We have Microsoft coming on our show this Friday. We're going to be talking about ML and AI and how it's being deployed within the supply chain industry, as well as how is Microsoft deploying it within their organization. So watch for that. That's going to be 9 a.m. Pacific time, Friday morning. Outside of that, that's it. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, everybody.